What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about why Canada controls an American city. So, to be honest, I don't really understand what this means. Why does Canada control one of our cities? Can you give it back? Does this mean we're going to war? I don't know. Well, I guess these are kind of the questions that I have about this. So hopefully these will be answered in this video by Off the Cuff, the American city controlled by Canada. Let's take a look.
Right in the middle of the US-Canada border is a blip, a mistake, or as some would say, a problem.
What is this? What is this? Since when? What is it? I'm sorry. I'm sorry to my fellow Northern Americans, but I have never thought about this spot in America in my life. Where is this? Why are we jutting out into Canada? Sounds a little painful. What is this thing?
Due to a mapping error in 1783, this northern Minnesota town is now cut off from the mainland United States, and the only way to get there is to cross into Canada for 50 miles, then cross back through the border into the town of Angle Inlet, USA.
You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be absolutely kidding me. This is in Minnesota? Because of mapping that we did 300 years ago? Why wasn't this just part of Canada? They're probably going to explain that. Angle Inlet, an American town. And you can literally only get there by going through Canada. This might as well be like an island, an American island, floating in Canada. This is so weird. This must be so weird for the people living there, the Americans.
But then 2 years ago, the border with Canada closed, trapping the residents in place. But then the border partially opened so long as you have a vaccine and a negative COVID test within 72 hours, which the people in Angle Inlet don't have access to.
Oh my God. Yeah, during the pandemic, when the border was closed. These people, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at this map and it's like, I genuinely didn't know this part of the United States existed. I don't know. Canadians out there, aren't there little parts of Canada, you never really paid attention to? This is what I'm experiencing right now. Angle Inlet. Okay. I feel bad for them. Is there any real way to fix this, though? I think this just needs to become part of Canada. I mean, that's easy for me to say. It's kind of tough for all the Americans who've been living there up until now. I don't even know where they would go. So there's no real good solution here, is there?
There is nothing remotely close to a lab and a defibrillator about as close to a hospital you're going to find up here.
But we planned a trip for less than 72 hours to use the same test twice and visit this uniquely placed American city controlled by Canada to find out what their ideas are for liberation.
We were stuck in the middle of a blizzard on our way up, so we stopped.
Liberation? Their plans for liberation? Is there a war coming? In this little American town? What's that mean?
Stopped in the closest city to the border to meet with Brian, who operates the plows.
What is it, like 40 or 50% of Canadian population's below us because like Toronto and all the capital is done by the lakes, the Great Lakes?
That's right. They're more north than a large part of the Canadian population. That's hilarious. I don't know. Maybe they should just be like honorary Canadians at this point.
So they're south of us too.
So these Canadians aren't as tough as they think they are.
Believe me, there's some tough ones there too, but the Northwest Angle is Minnesota, but you cannot get to it on land unless you go through Canada. And their entire industry is tourism, fishing. I mean, they don't get any other income from anything else but people coming up. And so there's a service up there that plows like 30 miles of ice road to service all these resorts.
No way. They gotta keep servicing this path so that people can actually get from this American place in Canada through the frozen tundra of Canada back to America, I don't know. Who even lives there? Like, I don't mean to be bashing these Americans, but of all the places to live, this sounds extraordinarily inconvenient. I don't know.
So we took the truck up to the border.
Oh, jeez.
She's intimidating.
Then a long drive through Canada. Finally, America.
Wow.
But wait, after entering back into the continental US, we had to track down a local checkpoint.
Here we go.
A few clicks on a touchscreen, and almost 2 hours later, we were in.
There's not even like a person? Isn't there supposed to be like border police or something? Like, I feel like no one even takes this that seriously. Like Canada or America, we're just like, I don't know. There's a city, American city in Canada. Nobody knows what's going on.
Should be in America.
This whole process is something that many residents of the Northwest Angle have to go through twice a day. Our first meeting was with Paul, a resort owner and lifelong resident who had strong opinions about the border inconvenience.
They have to go through this twice a day because these people are traveling like south into Minnesota, even though they're technically in Minnesota, I guess. They got to go through Canada and back into America to like go to the grocery store, to like the hospital or their job. Oh my goodness gracious. This just gets more and more ridiculous to me.
We're trying to figure out how to take this to a court.
A court?
What would you take to court?
That's such an American thing. We want to sue someone. Like who? What? Like what? Like, do you want to take the part of Canada in between this town and Minnesota and make that America? We want to take Canadian territory? Is that what he's proposing?
What exactly?
Holy shit, not being able to go to your own country? That seems like an infringement of your liberty, isn't it? But if I can get if I can get somewhere, if you can just get it filed, that will create a lot of potential.
This process, among other things,
It's tough. It's tough. Yeah, I get it. From their point of view, not being able to get into America, except they are in America in their little city. I feel like if you live in this American city, you are kind of accepting that you're severely inconvenienced. I don't know.
has led some to believe that maybe this part of the world should just be Canada.
Instead of building a wall, a new petition is simply asking to redraw the map.
There's a petition to the White House that asks Donald Trump to give it back to Canada.
The Northwest Angle. Maybe it should just be Canada. That's kind of what I was thinking at first. Isn't that the easiest solution? Well, hey, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. And say, why can't that land all just be America? Who messed this up like 300 years ago? Whose fault is this? I want to start pointing fingers.
Look, Minnesotans are already honorary Canadians. Why don't you just take all of us?
Great Walleye War, as it came to be known, ended amicably.
I mean, is there a point for any of these places that says maybe it should just be Canada?
Would you want to give up your citizenship? Because you can't get some bureaucrats together to come up with a simple solution?
Yeah, I mean, joking aside, I get it. He's within his rights. This is part of America there. Maybe his family has lived there for generations, and it's been a part of America, and we're just coming along saying, hey, this is stupid. Why? Just give it up. And it's like, well, from his point of view, it's not stupid. It's important. So I get it. I get it.
To figure out how 2, or actually 3 countries got to this point, we're going to need a little history with Chris.
Okay.
Or actually with me.
Okay.
I am Chris.
Little history. Good. Yeah, explain this.
By just looking at the strange little bump on the top of Minnesota, it doesn't really make sense, right? Well, at the time of its creation, it didn't make sense then either. It all started with the Treaty of Paris in 1783. Great Britain and the U.S. had agreed upon a border with Canada on the eastern side of the U.S. that looked like this. However, the border was planned to end at the northwesternmost point of Lake of the Woods, because they, for some reason, had that in writing and wanted to stick with it. What is the true northwestmost part of Lake of the Woods? Is it Angle Inlet?
Yep.
Oh, it is.
This is all determined because of some document somebody wrote about how the boundary should be at a certain lake, a certain side of a certain lake, and no one ever questioned it or said that was a bad idea or we should think about this. No one. I feel like, sadly, a lot of this is like an example of how many, many things are handled by the government, sadly.
Yep.
So they were not wrong there.
Right.
Then in 1807, with the Louisiana Purchase, things got tricky. The British government felt that the new border should connect the pre-existing border from the east straight across the water to the 49th parallel and continue westward from there.
Oh, imagine that. Holy cow. We were greedy. We wanted all that part of Canada. That's like cutting through Ontario and Quebec, and that's slicing off like a lot of Canada, where like all Canadians basically live, like 90% of Canadians live, right? Oh man, imagine.
But the United States remembered that they owned the northwesternmost point of Lake of the Woods.
No one really wanted to relinquish what was in words.
To change any wording from the original documentation would be altering the very piece of history that granted the U.S. to be, well, the U.S.
Yes!
It seems that everyone understood how crazy the map was. Canada and Great Britain even attempted to buy the land, but America, being America, shut it down.
Oh boy, it's sort of our fault. We're stubborn. We're a little stupid. We're just like, this is ours. Wow. I mean, that kind of explains a lot to me. Everybody involved thinks this is weird. And I guess we're just living in a perpetual state of weirdness from now on.
It's not perfect, but Angle Inlet is how it was to be.
After being filled in on why this place is actually American, we set out to find Joe's wife, Anita, who had stationed a fish house just feet away from the Canadian border.
Okay.
The border here is marked by black poles.
Oh my god, for one thing, I'm sorry. This is the most brutal looking winter I've ever seen. This is just normal? Like in southern Canada? Well, I guess not the most southern part of Canada. It's like the western southern part, which is a little more north. Okay, anyway, I don't care. This is the crazy, like, I can't believe winter gets this crazy.
Stuck in the ice.
I mean, you're like living 5 feet from Canada right now.
That's Canada.
And I definitely,
That's Canada.
definitely.
That little stick 5 feet away is Canada. So nobody could stop you. Not that I'm talking about breaking the law. If the FBI is listening here, no one could stop you from just like tap dancing your way into Canada. Like it's just right there.
It was hard to forget the resilience of the 119 people on Angle Inlet who face a daunting task, standing up to an entire country.
How many people did they just say is this?
Who face a
How many people?
It was hard to forget the resilience of the 119 people.
119. This is all for 119 Americans who live on Angle Inlet. I almost think that the American government should fund a special budget for all 119 of these American citizens to relocate into America, and we give up this weird part. That would be like the easiest solution in my mind, but another part of me kind of enjoys that there's funny, weird stuff like this that exists.
Country.
Be sure to subscribe and let us know in the comments.
Okay, I think that's it. That was fascinating. That was a little tidbit about Canada and America that I really didn't know about. Weird that stuff like this exists. there's literally an American city in Canada right now where people have to like drive through another country to get to work and then go home. Strange, but you know, if that's how it be, if that's how you want to live your life, okay, fair enough. This was a very interesting story. If you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on this weird American city in Canada. I'm trying to think, if there was like a Canadian city in America, I would think that's the weirdest thing ever. So feel free to leave your thoughts, and if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and learning about Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.